Hi, welcome to another PhotoLink video. This video is going to be on using manual vintage lenses from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s on your camera. And it's going to be a lot about adapters and a lot of things. I'm sure if you've shot for any period of time that you've always wanted to place lenses like the tilt shift, mirror, fisheye or whatever on your camera, but can't justify the cost because you don't use them that often, or they're just way out of sight in the standard lens mount. We're going to explore some alternatives at this point. Pictured above is an image of a Tacumar 50mm 1.4. Believe it or not, if you wonder what the quality of some of these lenses are, this is considered one of the finest 50mm lenses ever made. A Japanese designer was quoted in saying that this lens, right now, if it was produced today, would be nearly $1,500 because of the quality of the manufacture. There are lots of different types of lens mounts and that occurred in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. The one I tend to prefer is the M30 or the M42. But if you'll take a look at the image above, you're going to see on the back of every SLR or DSLR, you're going to see a little symbol with looks like a circle that's crossed out. That indicates your film plane. What's critical to understand is the distance between the back of the mount and the film plane is going to tell you whether that you can mount this lens on the camera and use this lens as it was designed. Here is a picture of an MCMD converter to the Sony MA mount, which is the autofocus mount that's currently being used. In order to use these vintage lenses, the adapter has to place the lens farther ahead of where the lens would actually lie on an MC or an MD camera. So they have to put an optical element in there to achieve infinity focus on that lens type. Here we have an M42 adapter, and if you'll notice, there is no optical element in the center. That is because the lens can be mounted on the camera with a distance from the rear lens mount to the focal plane that does not require an optical element to achieve infinity focus. What you should be concerned about is that optical element often degrades image quality. So if at all possible, I will use an adapter without an optical element where I can place the lens on the camera so that it can be used as it was designed. Another thing that must be considered is when placing the lens farther away from the film plane from which it was designed, what you get is the effect of a short extension tube. So you get a magnification factor. So a 50mm is no longer a 50mm. In addition to that, the optical element in these adapters affects lens acutance, which is a combination of sharpness and resolution of the lens. So basically, anytime you have an optical element between the lens and the film plane, it is definitely going to degrade image quality, and it's going to affect the actual design of the lens. Here we have an M42 lens adapter attached to an M42 lens with the adapter showing where it converts it to the bayonet mount for the Sony. M42 is actually a designation which stands for 42mm lens diameter by a 1 thread per millimeter thread pattern. There are also other lenses. There's the M39, there's the T2, and others. And you should always try a lens to make sure that, I believe on the T-type it's 42 millimeter with a thread every 0.75 millimeters. So if it tends to screw tightly or whatever, it might not be the same mount. So you'll always want to try your adapter on the lens prior to using it, and never force it. Never force it, and also try that adapter on your camera to make sure that it works freely. Of the lens adapters that are available both in the MCMD and M42, Nikon adapters and whatever, you'll find some that include a chip. I kind of steer away from them. The reason the chip is in there is for several reasons. First of all, on the Sony, the steady shot feature is based upon the focal length of the lens, and if the camera cannot read the focal length of the lens, the steady shot will, or the internal vibration reduction will not work correctly. So they have adapters that use that, but I usually shoot with image stabilization off and using fully manual mode, because what you have to have is a whole slew of adapters for each for each series of lenses that you're going to use that approximate the focal length of the lens. So what I tend to do is shoot without the adapters, without the chip on them. Operation of the manual lenses on your digital SLR is usually pretty easy. What I do on my A850 or my A300 Sonys is I set the camera to manual, turn steady shot off. Then what I also do is I mount the lens on the camera, set to then set to the f-stop I'm going to use, and then scroll through the shutter speed until the exposure compensation is at 0, or whatever exposure that I choose to use. Some cases you'll make a little bit over, some cases you'll make a little bit under. But once you do it, it becomes almost as fast as using an automatic lens. The thing you should keep in mind is the autofocus is actually, I've done it for years, so it doesn't bother me, or not having autofocus. What you do is if you're having trouble viewing the focus, what you do is you focus a little bit above till it's blurred and a little bit below till it's blurred, and then set your focus in the middle. Let's say you choose the M42 mount. What you should understand is there are a ton of lenses out there that are available that are actually phenomenal in quality. The Tacumars from in the M42 mount is exceptional. Also, the Russians make some very very fine optics in the Helga, the Zenit, and some of the other brands, which originally had their origins in the Zeiss, as well as Zeiss makes some phenomenal M42 optics. Thank you for watching. Please visit my site, www.photolink, that's FOTOLINQ.com, and there's for more information and charts on lenses. Thank you for watching.